Hello students. Today we are going to see about diseases of bone manifested in the jaw. In that, first we are going to see about fibrous lesions. That means the lesion which is displacing the normal bone into a fibrous content. So normal bone will be replaced, and instead of that, patient will be having a fibrous type of tissues or immature bone. So that is called as fibrous lesions of the jaw. So in that, the most important one is fibrous dysplasia. So as the term implies, it is the localized change in normal bone metabolism. It is caused mainly by the mutation of GNAS1 gene. And histopathologically, you can appreciate numerous short, irregularly shaped rabiculae of oven bone. And it has few types, that is monoostotic, polyostotic, and McCune-Albright syndrome. Monoostotic means fibrous dysplasia when it is affecting only one bone, it is called as monoostotic. Polyostotic means fibrous dysplasia which occurs in multiple bones. So that is called as polyostotic type of fibrous dysplasia. Third one is McCune-Albright syndrome, in which fibrous dysplasia will be present along with Kefauver spot, that means brownish discolorations in the skin. So these are the three important types of fibrous dysplasia. So as you can see in this picture, this is a clinical representation of fibrous dysplasia. As you can see, young females are commonly affected because of fibrous dysplasia, and you can see a diffuse swelling in the maxilla. As you can see in the picture, a diffuse swelling involves one side of the maxilla, so it is a unilateral swelling. It involves the entire maxilla, and the mucosa over the swelling appears to be normal. As you can see the second picture, the buccal cortical plate expansion is extremely high, and the swelling is much more evident clinically. So in this case, if you palpate the swelling, it will be bony hard, and patient will not feel any pain. So the main clinical representation of such condition is usually facial asymmetry and slow growing swelling, which causes expansion of one particular bone without any pain. This is another important radiographic feature of a patient affected with fibrous dysplasia, that is Shepherd's crook deformity. So when it is affecting any long bones, our thigh bones especially, or leg bones, patient will be having some radiolytic lesions, and because of that, the entire bone will become bent. So it gives an appearance of Shepherd's crook. That's why it is called as Shepherd's crook deformity, as you can see in this radiograph. The first radiograph represents a normal bone, whereas the second one clearly shows multiple radiolytic lesions, and because of which the bone becomes weaker and bent eventually. This is what I initially said about McCune-Albright syndrome. So here, patient will be having fibrous dysplasia. Along with that, patient will have Kefauver spot. That means brownish discoloration in the skin. So whenever we appreciate such conditions, we have to think about two things. One is whether it could be McCune-Albright syndrome or neurofibromatosis. That can be easily differentiated based on the outline of the lesions. As you can see, in McCune-Albright syndrome, the outline is very irregular, whereas in neurofibromatosis, the outline appears to be smooth. That's why theoretically they compare with McCune-Albright syndrome as coast of Maine, where you can see a very smooth outline, and the other one is coast of California. Clinical features. So as I said before, fibrous dysplasia commonly affects young individual, but when it is affecting young individual, usually it will be polyostotic. That means multiple bones will be affected. And in old individuals or little adults, what happens is usually it affects only one bone, and it is called as monoostotic. These lesions become static when skeletal growth stops. That means when the patient is affected during his very childhood age, that means 12 or 13 years, when the growth stops, the skeletal growth of the individual stops, the lesion also stops expanding in size. So because of this, usually such patients doesn't require any treatment. But when the facial asymmetry is present, and if it is affecting the patient's aesthetic way, then surgical intervention will be needed to reshape the bone and bring back the facial contour. And it has certain triggering factors like pregnancy, contraceptive pills, or any surgical intervention. So symptoms may be mild or absent. So usually patient will have only facial swelling, and patient will not experience any pain unless until it is involving any foramen. So unilateral facial swelling is the most common feature of fibrous dysplasia, and especially in the maxillary region, and enlarging and causes deformity. Nerve involvement can cause anosmia, deafness, or even blindness for such individuals. Radiographic features are the very highlighting features of fibrous dysplasia. And as we discussed earlier, it commonly affects the maxilla, especially the posterior aspect of it. And it is always seen unilaterally. And radiographically, you can appreciate the borders are ill-defined. You will not be able to differentiate the borders of the pathological region to the normal bone. The borders will be merged with the adjacent normal bone. And in the very early stage, this fibrous dysplasia will become totally radiolucent. Then slowly bone after oven bone formation or fibrous production, it becomes mixed. Then in a very mature stage of fibrous dysplasia, it appears radio-opaque. The abnormal trabeculae usually are shorter, thin, and irregularly shaped, and more numerous than normal trabeculae. So because of that, you can appreciate ground glass appearance, PUD orange appearance, that is orange skin appearance, or cotton wool appearance of fingerprint pattern. So these are the normal radiographic appearance with which you can appreciate fibrous dysplasia. Expansion with maintenance of thin cortical plate is very common. That means when the maxillary bone is involved, for example, when it is expanding, the cortical plate will become thinner and thinner, but usually it will not perforate. And most of the time, if it is affecting the maxilla, it expands into the maxillary antrum, but maintains the shape of the maxillary antrum. And regarding the dentition, the lamina dura usually disappears and it narrows the pedial space, displaces the teeth, or prevents eruption. Very rarely, hypercementosis or root resorption can be appreciated. Sometimes the fibrous dysplasia can affect the posterior part of the mandible. In such cases, the inferior alveolar canal will be displaced in superior direction. So this is one of the very rare conditions where you can see the inferior alveolar canal is getting displaced superiorly, because in all other conditions, the lesion will be displaced, displacing the inferior alveolar canal inferiorly. And these are the radiographic features where you can appreciate. The first one is the OPG, where you can see the left side has been completely affected. The bone appears more radio-opaque, and in maxilla especially, you can appreciate the fingerprint pattern as well as the ground glass appearance. So in this case, both the maxilla as well as the mandible is being affected. If you see the occlusal radiograph, you can appreciate the bony expansion, and you can see it is an homogeneous radio-opaque structure. That is mainly because of the mature stage of fibrous dysplasia. And IOP also clearly indicates the ground glass appearance very clearly, and you can see the lamina dura is been not evident. Okay, and hypercementosis is seen in few tooth root structures. And as I said before, the borders of the lesions will be merging up with the normal bone. So the borders will be always ill-defined. You will not be able to appreciate the outline of the lesions. And this is the image which shows the early radiolucent stage. In this, you can you will be easily misdiagnosing the condition as some other abscess or any other lytic lesions. But in the early stage, it appears like this, whereas in the mature stage, it becomes mixed or radio-opaque. This is again another OPG which represents the fibrous dysplasia, which is interfering with the eruption of the canine in the second quadrant. These are another clear-cut examples of fingerprint pattern, where you can see in the image there is an appearance of a fingerprint, and this is second one is the ground glass appearance, and third one cotton wool appearance and orange peel appearance. So these are the various appearances of fibrous dysplasia which you can appreciate or expect in any radiographic features of a patient where you are exposing it. And as I said, like fibrous dysplasia, when it is affecting the posterior maxilla, it has a tendency to push the floor of the maxillary sinus upwards. And because of that, what happens is the shape of the maxillary sinus will be maintained, but the lesion will be slowly making the size of the maxillary sinus smaller and smaller. And you can see in the second image, the inferior alveolar canal is being displaced superiorly, which clearly indicates that patient has been affected with fibrous dysplasia in the mandibular posterior region. And differential diagnosis for these things can include all the metabolic conditions which affects the bone, or all the diseases of bone, especially your hyperparathyroidism, Paget's disease, osteomyelitis, periapical symptom dysplasia, etc. So the management usually is not required for these patients, as it doesn't cause any pain or it stops after the puberty. But surgical intervention will be needed when patient is having gross facial asymmetry, which affects the patient aesthetically. But we should also be careful that surgical intervention may exacerbate the conditions. Radiotherapy is not recommended, as patient may have a sarcomatous changes. Pregnancy, contraceptive pills can lead this fibrous dysplasia into aneurysmal bone cyst, giant cell granuloma within the lesion. So medical management includes bisphosphonate therapy, especially IV pamidronate and oral alendronate. So this is all about fibrous dysplasia, which is a part of fibrosseous lesion, which comes under the topic of diseases of bone, which is manifested in the jaw. Thank you.